But we have one more thing we have to think about, and that's the type of questions we can ask. Because depending on what you want to measure, you have to pick the right type of question for it. And we have several different question types. We have open-ended, multiple choice, ratings, semantic differential or bipolar rating scales, and rank ordering. Now, the last three, ratings, bipolar rating scales, and rank order, are all considered measurement scales. Measurement scales are appropriate when you want to measure somebody's attitude toward an idea, product, service, practice, or experience with a technician or salesperson. You can also ask them questions about their behavior and how they are using the product and what they like about that product and how they would describe what they like or dislike about it. And then what knowledge the customers have about your product or service. The open-ended question seeks to explore a qualitative, in-depth aspect of a question. So you need to ask about a specific topic or issue. And it gives the person the chance to respond in detail. This is one problem though. People do not like taking the time when answering a survey by telephone or by online to type answers or to talk in great depth. So even though open-ended questions are important, they are time-consuming, they should not be overused, and customers frequently skip them. It's also difficult because the data analysis is time-consuming because you have to do it by hand and you need to read every single response and find common theme among those responses to decide whether or not the customers like or dislike and what are they saying about the product or service. It is helpful when asking about attitudes, feelings, likes, dislikes, recalling their memory about opinions, or just offering comments about the product or service. An example is, what do you dislike about the product you bought from Purina Feed? What is your favorite aspect of the product you bought from Purina Feed? If you don't like this as an open-ended question, you can actually turn it into a multiple choice question and give them answer choices, which is what we're going to talk about next. The multiple choice question consists of 3 or more exhaustive, mutually exclusive categories. So your multiple choice questions can ask for a single answer, which is a forced choice, or a multiple answer, which is a select all that apply. And you need to tell the person taking the survey, the respondent, what it is you want done. That's easy because we have a system in online surveys in which a forced choice is created with little circle bubbles, and select all that apply or multiple answers are done with square buttons. But when you design your survey and you do it by paper, people don't know that. So you need to tell them, select one answer, select all that apply. Here's one example of a multichotomous question with a forced answer choice for an online survey. How often do you typically use the product? And you can choose from do not use, once a year, 2 to 3 times, every 2 to 3 months, once a month, weekly, and daily. And from there, you should be able to get answers that are very consistent and mutually exclusive and exhaustive. Because if it doesn't apply to them, they can say, I do not use. A multichotomous question that has a select all that applied option is a little bit different. You would say something like, which of the following words would you use to describe our products? Select all that apply so that they know they can choose more than one answer. And you would say reliable, highly quality, poor quality, unreliable, ineffective, impractical, practical, unique, good value for money. And you come up with that list. Now you don't want it to be so long that it's overwhelming. That's where you got to do your research and make sure you know what you need to have answered and what's important for a company that you're representing. Now, a rating scale question requires a person to rate a product or brand along a well-defined, evenly spaced spectrum. So rating scales are often used to measure the direction and intensity of one's attitude or behavior. And so you write multiple statements that relate to the same topic to create what is called a construct, something that you're consistently measuring, like maybe the experience with the customer sales force. And you can have your answer choices go from negative to positive in that situation. So here's one example of a rating scale. Overall, how satisfied or dissatisfied are you with our company? And you have a rating scale that's variable, going from very dissatisfied to very satisfied. You would also see rating scales for level of agreement, from strongly disagree to strongly agree, or very likely to very unlikely, or maybe thinking about measuring level of satisfaction in a different way, without the neither dissatisfied or satisfied. Some people feel like you know whether you like or dislike the product or service in the company, and that you shouldn't give them a way out just by making them get a neutral response. So you avoid that answer option. Here's another rating example. Based on your experience with Purina's mineral tub, would you recommend this product to a friend? Because many a times if you're willing to recommend a product, you have a favorable attitude toward that product. And the rating scale goes from definitely will not to definitely will. Now, what do you think about this question? I want to talk about what was done well, what might need to be corrected. Overall, I am very satisfied with the way AgriService provided customer service on my equipment. And you go from strongly agree to strongly disagree. The question stem is all right. It's asking, now one problem I have is you might be worried about the whole I am very satisfied. So what you can do is eliminate that part and say, what's your level of agreement with this statement? Or what is my level of agreement with the way AgriService has provided customer service on my equipment? And then you go from strongly agree to strongly disagree. And you should reverse the order of those answer choices. It should go from strongly disagree to strongly agree. You want to start with the negative on the top and go to positive at the bottom. Or in an online survey, you'll see the negative on the left going to the positive on the right. And it's just a way that we measure any kind of rating. The negative bad part to the left or to the top, down, and then going to the right. Here's another question. How did your product, blank, perform? And you have miserably, somewhat satisfactory, very satisfactory, and delightfully. This is a terrible answer choice. You have one answer that's negative, miserably. You have three somewhat satisfactory items. You have somewhat satisfactory, very satisfactory, delightful. That is not balanced. That is very much showing a bias toward a positive, satisfactory answer. So when you pick answer stems or answer choices here in a rating scale, it needs to be balanced. And you need to have the same number of negative options as you do positive options. Now, overall, asking about the quality, the value, the experience, the installation, the user experience, those are good things you want to know about with your product. I would just encourage this company to change this rating scale so it's more balanced. Now, the semantic differential scale asks a person to rate a product, brand, or company based on a 7-point rating scale. And it always has two bipolar adjectives at each end. So bipolar adjectives are opposites, like good and bad, or happy and sad. So notice that unlike the rating scale, the semantic differential scale doesn't give you a neutral or middle section. You get two answer choices, and you measure it on a 7-point scale. So some options you could use for adjectives are good, bad, right, wrong, dull, exciting, interested, uninterested, complicated, easy, fun, boring. So you can ask attitude questions on how they perceive the company or the product: reliable, unreliable, affordable, unaffordable, complicated or complex, easy to use, good, bad. And that's a good way to measure people's attitudes in a simple way in which you're asking kind of on this scale, what adjective are they selecting or more favorable of? So let's critique this question right here. How would you describe the services of XYZ Corporation? One thing I hope you noticed is it's not showing a 7-point opening here. There should be 7 spaces in between each word. I also want you to notice that they're putting all the positive words on this side and then all the negative things on this side. That could be a problem because then they just get into a habit of marking straight down one line of the answers without really caring to read them. So survey researchers that do this for a living will tell you you need to alternate between positive and negative responses. So you'd have efficient, inefficient, slow, fast, reliable, unreliable. And by making those switches from positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, you're forcing them to answer the question. It does make it trickier for getting the answers because of the analysis and having to flip the negatively worded items on the left-hand side. You have to look at flipping answer choices. So efficient obviously can't be a 1, and inefficient can't be a 7. You have to flip those entirely. And it's a complex process. It's why this question is typically asked online, because you can set it up to do that for you and letting them know how to analyze the data before the survey goes out. Now, rank order questions allow a certain set of brands or products to be ranked based on very specific attributes or characteristics. Here, You say, please rank the following words in order of your preference and characteristics you look for in a product. Put a 1 next to the characteristic you value the most, and 5 next to the characteristic you value least, and so on. So the idea is we will know what they value the most by these answer choices: reliable, good value for money, high quality, unique, or easy to use. And it lets them rank them in 1 to 5 with the hope that they do not skip any items. So let's take a look at an example of a rank order. Please rank us on the following attributes: customer service, professionalism, quality of products, sales staff, and price. You might think this is a good question. It's not. You didn't bother giving instructions for the ranking. What does a 1 mean versus a 5? Is 5 supposed to be the worst? Or do you want 5 to be the first? You need to give instructions. So I would expect to see after, please rank us on the following attributes, to then have instructions letting them know that the 1 is the characteristic you value the most, and 5 is the characteristic you value least. Now, this concludes the types of questions you can ask in your customer satisfaction surveys. I've thrown a lot of information at you, so I encourage you to revisit sections that are confusing, check out the Canvas page for examples, and then read a little bit more in your book about good customer satisfaction questions. And then come to class prepared to ask any follow-up questions you have when we resume classes. If you have any questions or comments, please email me through Canvas inbox. Thanks.